All right, 7:05 in your lunch.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Oneonta Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Today is Monday, December 6th, 2021. I guess I will begin with roll call. Beth Ashbaugh, Carolyn Marks here, Commissioner Heidel,
Here.
Commissioner Cudmore, Commissioner Huntsman, Council Member Katie Lapari-Shu,
I'm here.
Parks Administrator here, and we do have amongst us our city manager. Administrator, sorry, Greg Winchase, thank you. Okay. We will wait on the review and approval of the minutes from our last meeting, but tonight we do have a petitioner and
I'm just a visitor.
a visitor. Okay, and so tonight we'll begin with our petitioner, Emily Polka.
And step forward to the front row, is that okay?
I will tell you that Emily reached out to me and she and I had a conversation just to get her started, and she's interested in recreation programs for children in the summer months. So Emily, take it away.
Yeah, I've been talking to some other parents who are interested in learning if there is more that the city, possibly in cooperation with other entities or organizations, might be able to do to support more summer recreation programs for school-aged children. We know that there's a lot of great programs out there already, but the parents I've spoken to also feel that there are some gaps in those programs, whether those are barriers of access because of schedules or financial reasons, or just the availability of spots in some of the programs that, they fill up and then there's no more. So I wanted to put that before this group to hear potentially, or to learn potentially what ideas might come from the people in this group about what something like that might look like, who some of the partners might be to start discussing something like that. And most of all, I'm interested in learning what the barriers to accomplishing something like this might be, so that myself and some of the other people I've been talking to can start to learn more about how those barriers might be overcome. That's what brought me here this evening.
Okay, we can open that to discussion. Lou, do you want to start with?
Well, I did talk to Emily. I explained to her that the city no longer does recreation program for children for any programming, and she understands that. And I'm recommending to her that she find an organization that will back her in this program, at least at minimally provide her with insurance so that she can come into the park and use facilities. And I told her we'd support her in any way we can in doing that. I can't imagine this group would not support something like that. So I didn't know if anybody here, I thought she should go ahead and come before this group in case anyone here had an idea for her. I recommended that she check with the Boys and Girls Club. I've recommended that she check with Family Resource Network, Catholic Charities. She recommended, or she suggested perhaps going to the school district. I don't know, but I think Tom Brumley would support something like this. He probably doesn't, like all of us, that would have the resources for it, but he might be able to help her out insurance wise, and that would get her started. So that's what I have. So.
Okay. Any comments or?
I might also throw out there, assuming Oneonta has the early childhood education programs, which are, as far as I can tell, always interested in new ideas and new partnerships. And they have a lot of free labor in the form of insurance and perspective.
And I know Bugbee had done, I was just assuming that's a branch, but they have done some stuff in the past, and I'm not sure what their, why they're not doing that anymore, or what they would need in order to continue to do that. One of the things that I've been thinking about is, I've been thinking about this since the summer, sort of when this conversation started kicking around, is maybe folks who are able to do smaller, more specialized things. Like, I know, so my brother is a student wants a professor in the music department, and they have done like a music camp. So that sort of got me thinking, like, I know I had gone when I was a kid to like, not necessarily camps, but programs over the summer that were like at Cano for arts. So rather than one group taking it all on, I had sort of had the interest of like, maybe different groups could do smaller, more specialized things that would open up more spots sort of overall. But they would just be focused in different areas.
Yeah, I would also reach out to the YMCA. I know that Frank tried to connect, but I don't know why Bugby discontinued.
I do, but
Oh, okay. All right, well, Frank might have some ideas, because he can only go so big where he was, so he's definitely a great resource for you.
I know that when I spoke with him, the two main challenges, I mean, there are size limits, right, to their organization, especially with COVID restrictions and
I
regulations
think
and how
that's
many kids.
why that ended there, with his affiliation with Bugby. I think there was
That's gotcha.
some problem there.
But I think too, like some of the barriers and things that, like pain points, if you can try to solve them, are the fact that like anything that deals with kids has to go through the state, like the education department and the Department of Health.
but
That is,
That's what I heard.
that is a problem you're going to run into, because any youth program has to go through the state and make sure they're compliant. For example, if you, Emily, bring 20 children into the park, you can't bring 20 children into the park because you have to have, if they're gonna come in for activity, you have to have a 1-to-10 or 1-to-8 ratio. I don't know what the state
I think
requires
it's
now.
10, but
In activity, you have to have that ratio. Just supervising them, 1-to-20 is fine. But once you enter activity, the ratio has to be different.
so you're saying it's regulated by the state as far as the scope of that program, the staffing, et cetera, et
that's
cetera.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And everybody has to have, well, and this may be like a lie stipulation, but he had mentioned that everyone has to have specific training and like background checks. So finding qualified staff is challenging.
There's a lot more to it than.
Yeah, that's what I found out when I started to dig. I was like, oh, wow. And like the Department of Health is involved in some way.
But I'm sorry.
No, that's
okay.
okay.
But I think that all of that is really an argument for going with an established program, not giving up, so like, because, they already know all the ropes.
Right.
And
Right.
if they have a volunteer base that they can draw from, that would be even better.
Right.
And if I can just throw out one more
Please,
name.
yeah, sorry.
Doug Riley, the Science Discovery Center, is on soon, death soon, on the outside. Yes. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I work there, so of course I know. But he's been really expanding what they've been doing, and especially doing a lot of STEM stuff, obviously. So,
Emily, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
We're all really excited.
I'm really
I'm really excited.
On an occasional activity or event, are you looking for long-term programming throughout the summer? And what would be the ages that you're looking at?
What I want, this is my dream. What I want is that for every parent in the Oneonta City School District to have full day programming for the full summer. And in my fantasy world, transportation would be provided by the school district. I'm just dreaming here. It would not be limited to city residents. It would be based on district enrollment. So I'm also reaching out to the town of Oneonta. I haven't made that connection yet, but that's another partner that I'm interested in talking to, since obviously we know the school district encompasses the town as well. But that's what I am aiming for. That's the North Star, is full summer, full day recreation programming for all students in the Oneonta City School District K through 5. And I think that the other part of the dream would be that the cost would not be a barrier to any family. So what does that look like? I don't know.
Mm.
But certainly, as a starting point, I would say if your household qualifies for free and reduced lunch, you should not have to pay to participate in this program. That would be one benchmark for income, right? That is an established criteria that the school district already has data on. So that's what I'm aiming for.
Yes, that would, especially if you're looking at something that would be full day all summer, you would have to have much more than just a place to run in the park.
Yep.
You would have to have a facility where you could be indoors on inclement weather.
Yes.
This would require extensive staffing, vetting of the staff, the resources as far as a financial obligation with that piece of it. And I don't know what the Oneonta City School District, I certainly can't speak for them, but that's a tall order. And I do know that back in my day, we did run recreation programs,
Mhm.
and we had use of the 4 elementary schools, and the 4 at the time. Center Street is, of course, no longer used as an elementary school.
But it is used for summer.
They do
recreation.
have, so in K through 5, that would be a large number of students. At that time, back in history, they were neighborhood school concepts. So Center Street students went to Center Street summer rec program. Valley View students went to Valley View, Greater Plains, and so on and so
Right.
forth. That takes a budget, it takes equipment, and that is a very tall order, and certainly would not happen overnight. And you're absolutely right, that is a long range goal.
Yes.
And I think the best that we can do right now is to offer some short range objectives that actually can be met. I love the idea because it was done,
Yeah, it was.
decades ago, but
It
it's
sounds
a
to
different
me,
era.
it sounds to me like you absolutely got to speak to the school district first.
Mhm.
Yes.
If that's your,
Yes.
if that's your goal, K through 5.
Right.
In Oneonta City School District, you've got to find a way to connect with them. Maybe a parent or somebody in your group is a teacher in the district, I don't know, but they would probably help you, be able to help you more than we might be able to. I mean, not that we don't support you, but, I think that's gonna be your first obstacle is talking about.
Yes.
And another program you can connect with is the library program.
Yeah.
They were in the park this summer for Children's Readings Day,
Yeah,
and they had a fairly sizable group.
they did a story walk. And
Yeah,
garden.
it was a good program.
And Oneonta World of Learning is on my list as well of organizations to reach out to.
I didn't hear that.
Oneonta World of Learning.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, they have a lot of connections with the school district too.
yes.
So I take it you haven't connected with the school district yet, or have you?
Like I'm 2 steps closer. One of the people I have been talking to spoke to a board member today. I haven't closed the loop on that yet. It's underway.
Cool, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think like we pay school taxes, right? So if this is truly a demand of the taxpaying parents, it would be great if it could be met. It's just a matter of like, how can they do that, you know?
And connecting a lot of different pieces together.
Yes. And yeah, at this point, I'm, like I said, trying to understand what the barriers are. I knew the money was going to be one, right?
Yeah.
Staffing obviously is another, clearly, staffing is a barrier for everyone right now. But the more sort of auxiliary puzzle pieces I can get to say yes, the closer you get. So if I know that the park system of Oneonta says in principle, this sounds like an interesting idea,
Which
That's-
particular school do your children go to, which
Valley View,
Valley View? I would start with the principal of Valley View.
yeah,
Because, if you can get one of the principals on board, then
Yes.
you have a easier connection or path to Tom Brinley.
yes,
Because I'm sure that they're hearing that from other parents. They need something for the summer for children.
they all
I'm
do.
sure of it.
Other than just summer school.
Right.
Yeah, academic.
Which they did last year. They were able to add that to the budget of $55,000 for summer school without going out over the cap. So, I feel like it's possible. But it's probably gonna take a lot more than $55,000 to do this. So it's one of the other things I'm trying to figure out. Dave Risberger had said at one time that it would take at least $75,000 for the city to run a program of this scale. So I kind of have that number in my mind as like a 4.
Mhm.
It's not an impossible number. You know, that's not, if we're talking about a partnership between organizations and institutions,
Sure.
that's not impossible.
And potentially with the town too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
If you talk about the town, the city, and the school district, you know, if you're splitting that money in some sort of 3 ways,
Mhm.
I don't think it's impossible. But the logistics are certainly challenging, so. Yeah. I appreciate everything you've shared with me on this topic.
Do we need to go further? Because I have a question.
No, are you have another question?
Well, I do, because I'm kind of curious what kinds of needs do you think are being met, or what groups are not, what groups' needs are not? Or, who's falling through the cracks?
Yeah. So I think, you know, at the most basic level, there are people who can afford the programs that exist. Maybe because they don't live in the city, so they can't take advantage of, you know, the city offsets some of the cost of the YMCA program, right? But if I don't live in the city, I don't have that offset. I still have to pay whatever it is, $125 a week. If I have 3 kids, that adds up really fast. So cost is a barrier. There's like schedule and timing barriers too, where maybe there is a program that would meet my needs, but that program hasn't been announced yet. And I have to plan something now. So I'm going to sign my kid up for this program that's only half days because the enrollment for that one's open now. Now I have to fill in the rest of those half days with something else. A program pops up later that wouldn't meet my needs. Too late. I'm already committed to this one. That's what happened to me last summer. I was driving my kid to Cooperstown every day because it was the only thing I could find when I needed to find something. The other options that I found out about later, like, well, it was too late. I made my down payment. I guess I'm going to Cooperstown. And then there's just the limited number of spots in programs, right? One thing I heard loud and clear last summer, which started all of this, was people who went to sign up for the Y program and they saw the line out the door, down the block and around the corner. And they said, guess I'm not getting in because there's only 30 spots and I see more than 30 people in that line. And like, that's it, you know, like there's not, that's it. Another, you know, the program at Bugby, there was about 18 spots in that program, maybe. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
It was a great program. My kid did that summer program for years. It's fantastic. She loved it. It covered almost the whole summer. It was a full day. It was wonderful for her and those other 13 or 14 kids who got in, you know, and it was not inexpensive either. So that's the gaps that I know about that people are running into. Cost, availability, and whether it meets the needs of their schedule. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Emily, have you checked with the town of Oneonta to see if they have any recreational programs? I don't know if they do.
Not yet. They did not have funding for any recreation programs in their budget last year. That's the only information I have right now. I'm trying to make a connection with someone on the town board to learn more about what the shape of it looks like.
I believe that the city clerk's office oversees their recreation. I believe it falls under, I think it's a
Town clerk.
Town clerk.
I know the town clerk now.
I do know too.
Okay, sweet.
He's new. He might not know anything yet.
Yeah, right.
It's worth talking to them,
Yes.
especially if, you know, out of the city, people are being excluded. Many of them would probably live in the town of Oneonta.
Yes.
So,
And then there's those of us who live not in the town or the city of Oneonta, but go to the Oneonta City School
I
District.
understand.
And there's like, you know, you're not at the front of the line for anything,
Right.
which is fine, but it's another dynamic.
Well, getting back to your point with the, you're looking at a programming for students that are enrolled in the Oneonta City School District,
Yes,
regardless of whether they live in the city of Oneonta, the town, or the town of Milford. So again, I think the point is really to begin with the Oneonta City School District, and then all those other programs can all filter in and be part of that particular day. And that's pretty much how it was done years ago, that the core was at the school, and then other activities, events were either brought in, or
Right.
the students that walked to the library, or
Right,
walked to the
right.
park, or went to the pool in the afternoon.
but with the
So
holidays,
it is possible. why not? Well, you know, do a little bit more than just math, reading and science all summer. Maybe, you know, have a combination where that's in the morning and recreation programs are in the afternoon.
I'm working
Yeah.
on my.
Yeah, well, certainly we're hearing a lot about learning loss and all of that due to the pandemic, so it could be an opportune time to, as you say, combine enrichment with recreation.
It would be a nice combination, complement for kids in the summer.
So I've had my meetings a little bit out of order because obviously I didn't start with the school district, but this has still been very valuable to me. And I hope it's got all of you thinking too. And I, you know, am very eager to hear more ideas, the better, about how this could potentially work.
Okay.
Well, good luck on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Keep us posted.
Yeah, I certainly will.
Wendy.
I was just kind of here as a visitor, but I figured I may as well just kind of run some dog park things by you. Is that okay? Well, I go down to dog park pretty much every day. As you see me on my fat bike with my little guy. And so far, so good. Everything looks pretty good. I did have one question. I guess there's no waste containers inside the parks.
So inside the small dog park,
Okay, so it's just a
there are several inside the big.
The big
dog park. We've got to.
Ran out.
What we'll do is we'll take one of the ones out of the big dog park and put it inside the small dog park when we combine every dog into one spot.
Yeah. Okay.
We will take care of that. I am aware, you did tell me that before.
I know, I was like, Mark's like, ask again. So I was like, okay. So now we're gonna have a committee meeting probably like in January, I'm guessing. So I don't know if I'm like out of line or asking things that shouldn't be asked here. So you could just let me know. Okay, so I did have some questions about, I know I spoke to Carrie and she had you know, I read about that we were gonna close the big park and just have the small park open. And I know that that's probably not gonna work for some of the dogs. You know, it's not gonna work for mine. I threw him in the big park the other day with just 3 other big dogs and it didn't go well. They ganged up on him and it was pretty scary. So I'm not really, like, as a committee member and somebody who knows that, like, what this young lady's going through, trying to get things started, we've got it in place, so let's just roll, right? So if we're gonna have to close the big park and dogs are gonna be in the little, some dogs are just not gonna be able to use the park, and that's just gonna be.
I will tell you, Wendy, that most dog parks in the Northeast are closed in the winter.
Yeah, so, but just to have, but that's what,
It was not our plan to keep it open in the winter.
Yeah.
However, because the community so supports it and so loves it, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
We came up with this idea. Actually, it wasn't even our idea. It was put forth by the dog park committee, a member of the dog park committee.
And I apologize, I was away, so
That's
I missed some of those things.
That's fine. Diane was the one that put it
Yep.
forward. And I thought it was an excellent idea. She said that there is one other dog park that they visit in the Northeast that does stay open,
Mhm.
and they purposefully keep it a smaller area so that, for a lot of reasons, but one of the big reasons is it's gonna be easier to clean up in the spring.
Mhm.
And they feel like their other section of dog park might be open if they have to close that section to make the repairs after
Yeah.
winter. So, I mean, all of that stuff made sense.
Yeah.
We have some major, you've been down there every day, you know this, we have some not major, that's a bad word.
Yeah.
We have some problems with drainage in the
Yeah.
big dog park.
Yeah.
And if we leave that go in the winter with dogs going in and out of there, it's gonna be disastrous in the spring and probably dangerous in some elements of the winter.
Yeah, with the
So
ice.
that's why we made that decision.
No, it's fine, and like I said, having the dog park, first of all, in any capacity is so huge. That we just have to kind of roll and see how
And
things
it's
go.
not gonna work for every single dog.
Yeah, and
Just like I've had, someone, was very upset that we put in a 4-foot fence. My dog can jump a 4-foot fence. And I'm like, a lot of dogs can jump a 4-foot fence, a lot of dogs can jump a 6-foot fence. You have to make a decision as an owner, is this where my dog should be?
Yeah.
And you already made the best responsible decision. You can't take your
My
dog.
little guy's just not gonna be able to go there. And as somebody since I'm down there every day and I'm talking to people, I want to have the best answer for them. So that really was very helpful. And also, Carrie had said, once we get 6 inches of snow, if people aren't responsible enough to shovel properly, we are gonna have issues and it'll be a liability. So that's important for me to know that when talking to people.
There will be times that we completely close the park.
Yeah,
We get a foot of snow, it's very likely it will
it's gonna
close.
be close,
We
yeah.
are not gonna shovel, we are not gonna saw, we are not doing that.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it can be open, it can be open. I mean, if we closed it on October 31st.
Yeah, like you would plan.
All the time that people are using it now, that they wouldn't have had the opportunity. And so I think we made the best decision.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Like I said, as somebody who's sort of, when I'm down there and I talk to
Sure.
people, you know, and I hear people, they have a lot of misinformation.
Sure.
So I feel it's kind of my responsibility
No,
as a dog park committee person to be able to answer them and kind of be, you know, firm with.
Sure.
And it's also nice to dispel rumors.
And please tell any of them that, you know, there are some very outspoken people and there are some people that are very responsible there. Please encourage them to join the committee.
Yep. Okay.
It's not a closed committee. I mean, if more people can join, I think that would be good.
I will do that for sure. So, okay, I think that was probably it. I just wanted to be here and just kind of get comfortable being here.
You're always welcome.
Yes,
Wendy.
thank you. But as far as I can see, the dog park is phenomenal and just all the dogs are having a great time.
Good, great.
It's getting well used and many compliments.
Yeah.
And thank you for
Most
taking
of
the
the
time to be
people
down
that
here
are
every day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've made my dog has made some new friends.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So,
Any other questions, concerns regarding the winter NUA dog park policy? Everyone's had a chance to take a look at it. I think it makes sense.
yeah, and it won't be perfect. I mean, there'll be times when it won't be perfect, but we'll do the best we can.
Exactly.
And you can always direct Wendy, people can always give me a call in the office if they need.
Okay.
And I know maybe they're part-time, but if they leave a name and number, I will call them back.
Okay, and I know that the number is on the rules there, and there is,
And it's posted on the signage, and we're gonna put up some more signage in regard to the winter policy. So
Okay.
people have a little more information.
that sounds great. Wonderful. All right,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Great, thank you for coming.
No problem. Get out then, because my dog is a little clingy. He's not happy that I left him.
No,
That's one of the disadvantages if I'm not working right now, so he's got a little too attached.
it happens.
Yeah, all right, well, everybody have a great evening, thank you.
You too.
Sure, Greg, would you like to give a presentation?
Sure, I'm not sure if anyone on the commission has seen the Damascus Field Master Plan draft yet, or on draft that we have, that I passed out. Has anyone seen, have we talked about this? Commission before?
No,
No, we
Okay.
not for this
particular phase.
they have not.
So this, we kind of put together, Lee Bergignano was our architect on the Damascus Field, was on phase 1 improvements that we did. Complete. And as part of that, we kind of came up with a master plan for what would be phase 2 or future phases, multiple phases to build out the park. Obviously, we took down the grandstand, didn't reconstruct it. And the intent with this master plan, if you want to focus maybe first on what the grandstand was, ultimately, provided we had funding, we would build some box seats there. Which those blue little lines are, the 4 or 5 rows of box seats. And then the green shaded area behind that is actually an elevated platform, 4 or 5 steps up from ground level. It could be, we suggested it be a turf surface, just as a ballpark, but something that people could hang out on, and maybe some permanent or movable tables and chairs, stools, that sort of thing, more of an active area to enjoy the game. Your food and drink that you might get from the concession stand. There would be, if you see the dash lines, and also if you look over at the images to the left of the page, third one down kind of shows what would be a covering over that elevated plaza area. So it could be a multi-use space, not just for taking in baseball games, but we have events there. We just make Damascus Field a more versatile area. Hopefully make it more active on more days than just baseball games. That would be kind of the most expensive, the biggest piece of the future improvements on the field. We should be going through one through 11, I kind of jumped ahead, but number one, the legend, it says 0.3 mile walking route. One of the suggestions or requests that Gary Lane and the Outlaws had was to move the fence in. I guess when this Maskey Field was last upgraded, George Steinbrenner at the time wanted the Yankees minor league field to be the same dimensions as the Yankees major league field. So that's how it was built, which is a pretty large area for like a collegiate league. There's not as many home runs. It would be more exciting, we think, if we had a fence moved in a little closer, 30 feet or so. So in doing that, if we were to do that, which obviously would entail expense, we could use some fill, it's sort of it would be a nice thing to do. It's not really a necessity. You can move the fence in, just the fence there, but we could build retaining walls behind that and an elevated walkway. So maybe it's 5 feet off the ground. The fence would be 8 foot as it is now, leaving a 3 foot exposed fence. So you could walk around the outfield during the game or any time and watch the game from there, or just kind of get your steps in. If you're not, someone wants to sit there for 9 innings or whatever, stretch your legs, make it more active ballpark, maybe encourage more people to come that wouldn't normally come and want to sit there the whole time. Kids would probably have a good time running around out there. Just make it more of an interactive experience, I guess. Whereas right now you can't go out in the outfield around the outfield fence and watch the game or anything. Number 2 on the map over be the top middle part of the page. As part of that loop in that area, which is kind of a dead space now. There's some grass over there. It's not really utilizing. There's a tent at the end of the bleachers. This would call for there being like a Hall of Fame walk where you just have some sort of displays with names and pictures, wherever there might be statues, of former players that played there. Obviously, as you guys know, there's some really famous individuals who play baseball at this stadium for years. So that'd be a place where you can showcase that. Another attraction to bring people in. Number 3 goes back to that elevated spectator path. 4 outfield fence, that would be just moving those in, replace them. Lighting upgrade at some point, when we replace the lights, we would upgrade to LEDs. That would be more energy efficient, less expensive. It wouldn't really save money, that it'd be an expensive purchase initially, but at some point we'll do that, and LED would be the way to go. It would also allow us the ability to have, you can kind of do some cool things with LED lights, stadium lighting. You can have like sort of a light show type of thing going on. 6 was the elevated plaza I started talking about. Number 7. Go to the top right of the page. There's a green highlighted area that has some playground equipment on it. It's an idea that another way to make the space more active and also give parents the ability to have their younger kids go and play on the playground, which will be covered, so they protect from foul ball, but be able to play and not be outside of the ballpark while the parents are watching the game. 8 is actually something that's already been done because we eliminated the grandstand, which had some coolers in it that were used by the Outlaws. They built a separate enclosure for number 8. There's just a blue highlighted rectangle next to the existing concession stand. Number 9. So with the upgrade we just did, the new dugouts are a little bit taller than the old ones, and that is actually blocks some of the view, some of the sight lines for those first few 4, 5, 6 rows behind the dugouts along each baseline. Along the 3rd baseline, it makes sense to modify those bleachers to create a platform with some stools or tables and chairs for people to sort of stand and watch the game or sit at a stool and see over the dugout. So making that space usable again. If you were to sit back there now, you would have a obstructed view. You'd be able to see something, you would be able to see home plate necessarily, which is difficult to watch baseball. That's pretty much it, other than a proposed maintenance shed down the bottom right corner of the field. Currently, we're just storing some equipment either under the bleachers or parks maintenance building would be helpful to have an area enclosed where we used to have a grandstand. That is what we have.
Greg, when's this phase scheduled to begin?
The to be determined, there's no funding for this
Okay.
currently. It would be something that I think it's, all told, I forget what our estimates are, but this is, over $2 million worth of improvements. So it could be broken out into phases, we could prioritize, what we would like to see first. Perhaps there is another grant opportunity that we funded the first phase or through a sand grant, which Senator Seward was able to secure for the city. Maybe there's something like that in the future. Maybe the community steps up and decides that if we, share this plan with them, maybe some people will think it's a great thing. Want to donate some money. I'm not sure if there's other grant opportunities out there at the moment. I don't know that it'd be really applicable for this, but it's.
So at this point, we're not looking at the possibility of another minor league franchise coming to Oneonta? Is that something that would even?
I'm sure that Gary Lang would be very interested in that if that were a possibility. I don't know that he's had any conversation with him. I would know.
I thought maybe that might bring some financial resource
Yeah, eventually.
to the field if we got back into that level of play here at Janetsky Field. And any other commissioners have questions? It's quite detailed and quite interactive as far as being more than just a baseball stadium. It looks like you even do concerts of some sort possibly inside.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a possibility.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, thank
Sure.
you. Next, Lou, would you like to give your Parks Administrator report?
Sure.
Highlight it.
The correspondence we had a letter from Andrew Hamill. He emailed the city info line, which Carrie oversees, and she forwarded the message to myself, Beth, and Carolyn. These are the requests that Mr. Hamill made, water fountain, water bottle filling station in both parks for spring and summer, realizing that they would have to be removed in the fall and winter. It's something we're looking into to see how much it would cost. I think we talked about this a while ago. I know that Greg and I talked about this a while back. I can't honestly remember when, but it was pre-COVID. So I think with COVID, it kind of fell by the wayside. It became not as big a priority. But I think it's something that I think it makes sense that we look into it and see if it's something we can afford to do. I think a lot of people would use it. So I think we can move forward looking into that. Restrooms with hand washing stations in both parks. Honestly, all the restrooms have soap and water now, so I don't know that they really need it. It's a park. I don't know that really need hand sanitizing stations. But that was the request. His last request was the possibility of closing Wilbur Park at 6 p.m. all year. I wanted you all to hear this, all of his requests, because, his request was made not to Lou Lansing, it was made to the commission, these things. So I think it'd be great if we decided if we wanted, how we want to respond to him, or if you prefer me to respond to him, I will. But anyway, do you all have any thoughts on these three recommendations besides the water fountain?
I would be interested to know why you'd like to close the park at 6. I mean, just as someone who uses the park and apparently have a kid, that's like, that's not that late. So I can definitely see us going to the park, if it's all done, right, which is the current policy, so.
I'm really torn, Katie, about I'm really torn I thought about it, Karen and I even talked about it, should I reach out to him and find out why? Because I figured that would be the first question.
Yeah.
I almost don't want to ask that because I can't think of a reason why you would consider closing the park at 6 p.m. for everybody. I don't want you to think that that we're considering, I mean, is this something you even consider? I can't imagine why he would say close the park at 6 p.m. and close out all the people
Well, I
that do
think
it.
he lives near there, so it may be like a residential noise concern. But I can't really imagine that the upper level of Wilbur Park gets that loud that it would need to be closed.
I can't imagine any reason at
Yeah.
all, and even if that were such, of course, it's a far-fetched idea, I think, but how would you even enforce that?
Well, you could,
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe
You have to have someone
Someone
else.
says
How do you close
a
it?
request.
Honestly, people will riot, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
6 p.m.
And rightfully so. And-
Yeah, there's like
and-
4
and
hours of
yes,
light,
yes.
and they're like, what?
People enjoy the park until like 9:30 at night in the summertime because it stays like that.
Yeah.
And there's activity going on.
Yeah.
That's why we have them.
I just want to close.
I can't imagine why that he made that request.
Yeah.
And I thought if, I could ask him if you want me to, I could certainly ask him, but
I feel like for the sake of feeling heard, I mean, I wouldn't, I can't imagine that.
well, I'm gonna respond to him unless Carolyn and Beth would prefer. We could ask him that, we could ask whoever responds to him, whether it's Carolyn and Beth or whether it's me.
Or all three of us.
I think responding to him automatically tells you he's been heard.
Right.
We talked about it at the commission meeting, this is what, whatever you all want to do, I will do, we will do.
The idea of the water fountain with a bottle filling station is, I think, is a wonderful request. The other two, I don't see any reason to add more washing stations when there are sinks and soap in the bathrooms in multiple places and in both parks. And thirdly, I think that would be something that we'd have to do and ask someone else about how higher being closing the park.
Yeah, I mean, we could put that question on the survey and say, would you like the parks to be closed earlier or not? And then there's some data to back it up, because I'm sure no one would agree with that.
I think people would be angry to even know we were putting it on the survey to ask it. Are they considering closing the park at 6 o'clock? I think that would make people angry.
Yeah,
But I
also
don't
6
know.
seems kind of arbitrary, like why 6?
I have no idea. I can't think of a single, I can ask
Reason.
we
Yeah.
can
That's
ask.
all we can do,
Right.
is ask the
I'd rather ask him that than put it on the survey, because I think that would just,
Yeah, I think that would be,
I think people would be very upset about that. I agree. The response would be glaringly, no way.
Yeah, right.
So,
any other comments? So, between Kath and I and you, we will
yeah, we can
respond.
sit down and look at that.
Okay.
The other part of my parents report, the winter dog park policy, you all have it, we already touched upon it. Anybody have any questions on that?
No, thanks for figuring that out, so that the dog park can be open in the winter, because that was like a pretty resounding
Yeah,
request, so.
yeah. I think it's all positive that people want it. I think they think it's a good thing. I don't know. We'll have to see in the spring how good it is, but we'll see. I wanted to just let you know about the Festival of Lights. It's under motion. Carol and her committee are starting to have all the, or most of the stations where people set up, all the lots all numbered. So they've started their work. That work will continue through the 17th. The festival is scheduled to be open on Saturday, 18th, and it will run through Monday, January 3rd. And they're going to a lot of efforts to make sure that there's safe passage for people, pedestrians. So it's not just gonna be cars, as long as nothing changes with our health conditions. And that's basically everything I have, unless someone has questions on something.
The only other concern I believe we have was the city concerned neighbors of Lower Wilbur Park regarding the basketball court.
And I did, I think I included my response to them.
Yes, you did. It's on the back.
The last page. This is a class I made with Robin,
Oh, yes.
and I just felt like that they deserve, this has been a while that they've been complaining about this. I thought they at least wanted to know that they've been heard, we understand it. I explained that we're going to do a survey and hopefully take into account that area and some other things when we make some improvements to Willow Park. The biggest thing I wanted them to know is that if we're going to make changes in Willow Park, we're going to hear from the community first and what they think. And if we've learned nothing else from this whole basketball thing, we've learned that maybe get a little feedback from the community, so at least they know they've been heard. And I think it's a good thing. So she did not respond to this email, so I'm hoping that this made her feel at least they've been heard and we go from there. And when we do get the survey out, I'll make sure I send another email to Robin and say, by the way, the survey is available here. So please make sure you encourage your group to take part.
Were we still thinking about the possibility of replacing that basketball court with the two pickleball courts?
It's under consideration, but we don't want to do anything until we get the information from the survey. Someone, there may be a big contingency that has another idea. So I think we get that information before we do anything.
Okay.
That's what we're kind of looking at, repurposing the basketball, to move another basketball court into Neola. I think that's in our thinking, but I think before we tell them what we're going to do or do anything, we get the survey first.
Yes, I think it's
We
important.
get information, and I want to thank this group in being so understanding that we're just going to focus on Wilbur.
Yes, I think that
I
just
think that's the way to go.
easier for us to focus on one particular park, otherwise we were getting involved in.
Would we do Brett from that, which is sending that there?
Oh, yeah, we're right there. What am I?
Do they feel like they've been heard, or there's, I know there's obviously still concern that we're not going to do anything.
I would say that, I have heard a little bit. I think that they are probably going to continue to pursue this in whatever way, shape, or form that they think would be most effective. I don't know. I think that a survey would be really helpful to see exactly what the degree and extent of ice healing is, or whether it's confined to the people who are immediately abutting the basketball court.
So right now, are we going to continue to keep that basketball court open, or is it officially closed?
I believe that facility is locked.
Okay.
I don't know, but I believe it has been, because I know that we took down all the tennis nets and everything, and we usually lock the facility at that point.
Would the nets come down also, or would they
The nets?
remain?
You mean the basketball?
Yeah, the
hoops?
basketball.
I don't know if the guys have taken those down.
Typically, would they and to take the netting down? over the
Typically,
winter?
they don't, but we
Okay.
could. I mean, if we feel we could, we probably should, and that way no one can play basketball there.
Maybe that's our
Maybe
best
that's-
course of action right now, at least we're making an attempt. It is going into winter, although I didn't look or feel it today.
Yeah.
We all know that we get those pockets of days where it's 60 degrees and then it's, minus 20 the next day. Maybe that would be at least something, because typically, Wilbur Park is closed to traffic,
It's close to traffic, we're not foot traffic.
but not foot, right, not foot.
I can ask Dave tomorrow.
What do we think, is that a?
I think that that's a reasonable thing to do. I mean, it's gonna be iced over anyway, so.
I think it's locked, so I don't
And
think it's a
locked
big deal,
also.
but I think anything we can do at this point to make people feel better, we'll do.
Should we even put a sign temporarily closed or?
If it's locked and the thing is down there.
I'm just trying to make sure that the message is out there that we really don't want that used for this particular purpose for now until further notice.
I think what happens in the spring is gonna be, crucial. Like, do we put them back up? And then, or not.
Well, I think by the spring, hopefully we'll have information from the survey and maybe we can make some decisions at that point.
And do something with that.
That's why I'm hoping we can get the survey done, so we can get it out.
But how quickly would that basketball, tennis court, number 8, would that be an easy removal in the springtime?
I honestly, I don't think it would be hard to take the backboard off and the rims down. The
And that-
poles is gonna be a little bit
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do, Greg maybe can speak to that, but I think if we remove the backboard and the baskets, we're not gonna have basketball there. So, I mean, that solves that part of it. How long it will take us to, if we decide to put pickleball courts there, how long that will take.
So
It may be a
basically,
little longer.
that
It's not gonna
space
happen
would be
overnight.
out of commission. We would keep it locked until further notice.
Yeah, at that point, it might be locked. Or it wouldn't even be a tragedy to have the space open for kids that wanna play there or do whatever,
Okay.
you
I
know.
mean, we could take, maybe put padding around the poles. just
Yeah,
in
that's gonna
case.
be a big problem, we'll have to do something.
Okay, and it would be nice if we could
And maybe,
use it for a space
Greg,
to
I don't
do
know,
something.
is it gonna be a big ordeal to take the poles out? If we decide to do that?
Not a big ordeal.
No.
I mean, I think that, jack in. Install, and it's an asshole. We wouldn't want to put a vehicle out there on a new surface or potentially mess that up.
Yeah.
There might be an adaptive reuse of those poles that someone comes up with in a survey or other way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but there might be a way to use them, yeah. I originally thought, I had said to Greg that we could put up some shade elements there to keep some of that stuff from coming from the trees back on us. But then there's always the poles inside and, I don't want anybody to run into them if they're playing whatever. So, I don't know.
So on our survey, I'm just wondering how we should ask a question about that space. Now that we're, talking, can we go on to the survey?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go on.
I think,
Sorry.
one question should be, well, I'm gonna let you guys come up with it, I can tell you later what I think, so.
So I guess at this point, we can move on to old business and we can talk about the River Park survey.
You all have your surveys, that I gave you last month. And a couple of spreadsheets on it. If that's it. You have one, Katie?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we could take a lot of information that's out there to make it relevant just to rural.
So would this possibly fall under the second page of the back of the front page? Please indicate how often you or your family utilize the following facilities. Would that be?
I mean, we should put it in now. I think we have all existing facilities in there, of course. just make it all real. How often do you use the tennis court? How often do you use the pool? How often do you use pickleball gardens? How often do you use the open space on the lower level? How often do you use the open space on the upper level? Like, how often do you use the pavilions? I mean, those could all be questions here that are relevant just to.
Right.
Well, how often do you walk the trails or bike the trails or something? I mean, I think we could do walk and bike to see how many people are using those for both. How often do you play basketball at that site?
The current site.
And the family, how often do you use the family play space? That's what we call it. Where the new basketball court are, or something along those lines. I don't know, is that inflammatory too? I don't know.
I would say something like, what adjacent facilities to the pool? I'm just getting back to your motivation for making that space usable by people who are going to the pool. Like, so what facilities or what activities would you like to do or see relative to Wilbur Park?
Well, I think that could be another question. What kinds of facilities would you like to see in Wilbur Current there?
Yeah, but I mean,
And you could list some and leave a blank spot for them to add in something.
yeah, I mean, and then we can draw our own conclusions, like, would that fit in the family play space? Or, I mean, I feel like if you ask a question about the pool that said, you know, what else would you like to do on a typical outing? To the pool and
Or
Wilbur
we could
Park.
have a section just on pool questions and that could be a question.
Yeah, because then that would help guide us for, like you said, things that people would want to do in conjunction with
Yeah,
going to the.
I agree. I think we should have a spot just for Wilbur pool.
Completely separate.
Because we might not make changes to the pool specifically, but that helps us guide like where people want things,
Where they're
right?
and what they're using, what facility they're using in the park.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it anyway. I'd kind of like to see what people think of the pool. Do they take swimming lessons? You know, I think, you know, is there something, while you're visiting the pool, is there something, another activity your family might want to entertain if you had it, or something like that? I don't know. Maybe that's too open, maybe. While visiting the pool, have you visited the family play space? Have you used the family play space? I think. What would you like to see there, or something like that? You have something different?
No, so we want this to inform a Wilbur Park master plan.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I look at this and I recognize that we would be cutting a lot out of this. This is a very long survey.
Yeah,
It's too long.
Yeah.
were you here last time when we went through and like, just like
No, I
mixed
think
a
I-
bunch of stuff?
I think I
Okay.
missed that.
Yeah, I
this
think
is
we
too
put it
long.
down to like 10 questions.
This is too long.
Okay.
This is,
Plus it incorporates both Wilbur Park and Newell Park.
yeah, I think we can watch more than when it's just will work. Most important to me, I think, and most important, I think, to this group, is what kinds of things do people want to see in Wolverine right now? Yeah, we just redone the tennis courts.
Yeah.
Just take away the family play space altogether. We've redone the tennis courts. You know, I think Wilbur Pool's beautiful, even though it's an older facility. I think it's beautiful. It's well used.
Like it looks the same as it did when I was a kid.
I think
that's
we
saying
should
something.
give them some choices. One of my ideas was bocce. Maybe the people in Wilbur don't want bocce. You know, give that as a choice. I think, especially in listening to Brett, I think having a really nice youth field there, really nice youth field for kickball and pickleball. I think something like that with some seating for people to enjoy that space, I think is a wonderful idea. Maybe, you know, and listen to Brett, his family really enjoys that, and a lot of people do. I think those kinds of things could be on the survey, and it's easy for people to say yes or no to, or yes, we want to see that.
So I know that Beth had started like a Google Doc that we could all work on in, that was shared with us. I feel like it would be helpful to input some of these things, the things that we agree on with regard to the questions. And then see what we have left, like see where we're starting from, and then tweak that. Because I feel like right now we're retweaking like a retweet, and it might be helpful to just clear out all the junk that we don't need and see what we're working with, and then see what's missing.
I mean, I think if we have a good idea of how we want to use this information and what we want to know, that helps us to make choices about what to include and what not to.
Right.
So just by saying, well, we're okay, well, we know we can throw out all the Milan Park stuff.
Totally.
But if we know what should we add to Wilbur Park, or how should we further develop Wilbur Park, okay, that's good to know. Because that puts us in it points us in the direction of more open-ended questions, of maybe things that we hadn't anticipated might come out of that, and that's good. I mean, if we want to if we want to bring more people into the park, then that leads to a different set of questions. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think it would make sense to just sort of figure out what it is we want to know through this survey, and how we can then use that to inform, what questions we put into it.
Yeah, and I think that could be one of our questions. What do you want to see in the park? And we can put pickleball courts, we can put things that we other things that we think should be there. A really nice youth place, youth field there. Because there are fields that you use there, but they aren't really that great, are they? I mean, couldn't they be nicer? I think they could.
Well, they're blank.
Yes, they
Right?
are.
No, they're a blank slate. Which is
Okay, and you just want the blank slate, you don't want something.
Look, at the end of the day, my kids are anarchists. They want complete and total creative freedom. You know what I mean?
And you know why that is? I think it's because there isn't a lot of blank space in Wilbur because it's so wooded.
Yeah.
I think if you said you want blank space in Neil, you'd be like, you got it, it's right there, all these open fields.
Yeah.
So I understand that, I get that. And that could be a question, do you want to keep it as is? Do you think it's perfect the way it is? Does your family enjoy it the way it is, or something like that?
Because it's, as you just mentioned, you can do whatever you want with that particular space. It's not defined for any particular activity.
I think it's easier to get information on a survey if you give them some choices first. Certainly give them some room to put things in that they think. But I think if we don't give choices, that we're gonna get nothing. It's good, whatever, or maybe they'll skip it altogether.
Yeah.
I don't have the idea, so skip that. So then we get no information.
Right.
Yeah,
But I think we also should say leave it in its current
yeah.
condition.
We'll
Yeah.
find out what people like about the park as it is, like what's your favorite part of Wilbur
Your
Park
children-
right
I
now?
like that.
Your children like, say it again, I'm sorry.
Just like, what's your favorite part of the park as it is
Yeah,
now?
and there is a question like that on here.
I think, Brett, you raise a really good point, is that we're sort of going after two pieces of data, right? It's like one is about usage and how often do people use the park? What would get them to use the park more? And then that sort of guides how we develop it, but we need to ask questions about specific things that we can do to the park in order to drive
Look at
usage.
this, question number 7. In your opinion, how valuable would it be to add the following park facility? I think that's a great question, Lisa. How valuable is it to you?
Yeah.
And that can give us an idea of what they want, what they like. And certainly, right, it could be the open space on the lower level.
Hmm.
Or whatever, the playground, the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, I understand some people don't like the playground there, so, you know, this is a chance to give some feedback on that, so.
And then, of course, other can specify, you know,
I-
leave alone, leave
I
as is.
I think the only thing with this is we need to be careful, you know. If we're gonna ask ice skating rink, is that really something that we're going to be able to add to our park? I think
That's a
not.
good point.
Yeah, I think we really have to be careful what we put in there.
Because if it's something that really means a lot to them, if ice skating is a real priority, then we're gonna put it in the other. And then we see how many people put it in the other, I think, but I might be wrong. Maybe we do put it on there. I like that climbing wall. I didn't even thought of that. Lots of kids like that.
That might be cool for the family play space. We'll find out.
We'll find out. I think you're right about that. It should be. And shuffleboard is another one. It used to be people love disc golf. I haven't seen.
Oh, I
too
know, I
much
play
lately.
that, that is so much fun. I play that up in Auburn, they have a beautiful area,
Mhm.
this specifically for disc, golf. Oh, it's so much fun.
A volleyball court. Could, you know,
Yeah.
people want a volleyball court.
People
That's a
want to play volleyball.
family thing.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe in that open space, we put a volleyball court. I don't know. I mean, I'm an old volleyball coach, so maybe I should have. thought of that.
Really?
Oh, yeah, 30 years.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So I coached early.
And I like the idea of badminton, I mean, those are,
Yeah.
and the family can play together.
And then we'll find out people want badminton on that surface. That's a family play space then. Badminton's fun.
It is. It's
Yeah,
so
we're
much fun.
So.
Nurture
I gotta say.
Nurture that
Yeah.
love.
Well, let me offer something. I talked with Carolyn and Beth earlier this week about, because I knew we had several things to cover tonight, and I didn't want us to be here till 9 o'clock. And I didn't want to keep pushing this survey. How about we do this, and this is just a recommendation. Carolyn and Beth and I have agreed to sit down and put together a survey. Type it up, get it all organized together. And certainly, anybody else could send us information that they want on
That
it.
would really be helpful.
And then maybe at our next meeting in January, we can say, yes, we like this, no, we don't, and get it so that at least by January, we can start, we maybe get it out to the community.
I feel like spring is a good time because that's when people start thinking about wanting to go outdoors.
You know, I like it, the sooner the better if we're gonna make any changes, that's what I'm saying. Otherwise, that family play space could very well stay vacant for another year. I mean, and I'm not saying we can do something overnight, but if we don't get the information from the public, we can't move forward with any kind of a plan. So are you all okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have a good, like, we really went over this.
But I think
Last
if we have it
time?
down and see it, we can look at it.
Yeah,
that's what I can
say.
say.
Okay, there it is, we're not looking at 7 pages, we're looking at
Right.
page 3 or
Totally,
something.
yeah. I just like ripped one clean out of
You
here.
know,
'cause I
we can
crossed out
always make
everything else.
changes, and if we have to wait till February to release it, we're still ahead of the game, we're still before spring.
Mhm.
And if anybody has a thing they want to send forward,
Yeah,
send your
that's good.
questions, I mean. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
You were dynamo, you
Yeah.
were inspiration to us all.
Well, I'm gonna
Your
give them
energy
my
is
Boundless energy.
boundless energy.
coffee is the.
Any other questions or on the survey? We have that pretty much under control at this point, and we'll get together and please send any of your well thought of questions, and then we can put this together.
And if you think of something, Carrie, that we didn't touch upon, certainly, Carrie is a wealth of knowledge. I may be energetic, but Carrie is very knowledgeable, so not giving you more work, no, Carrie, it's a good thing, it's all positive.
At this point, do we have any new business?
I just wanted to mention that Lou and Greg have met with some folks about, the potential of putting a splash pad in Mueller Park someday. And so we are expecting a plan from, a company that came down and just took a look at the park, to give us an idea of what we would be maybe able to do. So that's sort of forthcoming, I guess. Right, do you have anything you want to add about it? Just want to keep the commission informed that that happened.
Yes, it did happen. I just wasn't sure we were ready to. That's fine.
Well, yeah, nothing is happening,
That's the
just
reason
the
why-
meeting today.
That's why I didn't put it in my report, because it really wasn't.
Are they putting together an estimate?
Yes. So I think that would be helpful to know what that could potentially be.
I have thought for the longest time that the splash pad would be amazing.
Well, it's in the master plan, and this survey, as you know, that was something that was in the survey that they wanted besides the dog park. But,
Would that would be specific to Newell Park, not Wilbur?
Right.
that's, no, we weren't thinking about, I
No,
don't think bringing massive numbers to Willow Park is a good idea, especially where we are right now.
And we already have that beautiful pool, so why compete?
yeah, it'd be nice to spread it.
I will tell you, I do have, since you brought it up, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but since you brought it up, I am gonna say that I'm a little concerned about the area we're looking at,
Really?
after thinking about it more.
Okay. What are your concerns?
Well, my concerns is that space is used for a lot of our park activities, a lot of our bigger events. The 4th of July uses that space a lot. Not that they couldn't move to a different space, but they have a lot of activities that are central to
Yeah,
Yes,
so
and
that
other
circle.
central to the power, central to the caboose area. And they use that for a lot of activities, bounce houses and things like that.
There's that field that's just on the other side, where the oldest tree is, and that's like never used
But
for anything.
that's used by a lot of the concessionaires set up over there.
Not really. I mean, they set up along the like inside edge of it, but nobody's ever on the grass. They had like benches and tables there last time for food.
But
there
Brett's
wasn't.
kids go there because it's an open
That's right,
space.
and
So
they're there.
We're gonna leave that space open, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm concerned that it's too closed in space, that's all. And I may be the only one concerned about that, that's fine.
gotcha. Well, I mean, it's good to think about for
So,
sure.
I know what it's like when you tell people there's gonna be a change, they're not gonna be able to use any of that space. I know that sometimes that. Anyway, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, it's
We're
very,
not ready for
it's
that.
an
yet, so.
informational,
Just
Kind of thing.
informational.
Totally.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Otherwise, I think that we can adjourn the meeting.
Well done, Carolyn.
Thank you.